First thing I propose to share with you is how we fared during the COVID crisis. You know, the motto of our company is to deliver the best of the best in terms of customer satisfaction to our customers. And during the COVID crisis, it was all about making sure that we would deliver unmatched availability of assets, spare parts, engines, all along the crisis, wherever, with whoever, whenever. And that's what we achieved. We achieved, as a company, unmatched spare parts and engine availability during the crisis. That's what I call being up to our OEM responsibilities. It was a team success, and it's important for me to share it with you. First of all, we owe it to the people of Safran Helicopter Engines, but we also owe it to our partners and suppliers. I'm known to be paranoid about the supply chain, and part of this paranoia was to make sure that our suppliers would accompany us, which happened, hence my thank you to all of them. The third point during the crisis was to adapt at the speed of light. Why so? Because I was convinced when the crisis started that it could be an opportunity market-wise, provided we protected our capacity to invest. And to protect our capacity to invest, we needed to adapt the company to invest. This adaptation was twofold. On the one hand, streamlining our organizations. On the other, reducing our cost base. This we did at the speed of light, outcome enabled to invest right now, last year, right now, and in the coming months and years. Did I have something else? I'm done about Safran Helicopter Engines during the crisis. So now what I will move on to is the market situation. Market situation, clearly, I believe the recovery now has started. And some market segments have dramatically bounced back. A good example is the light helicopter market segment, which has clearly bounced back. What does it mean in terms of engine deliveries for Safran Helicopter Engines? Several things. You may remember, or you may not, that in 2020 we had around 20% order cancellations at Safran Helicopter Engines. These weighted heavily on our 2021 deliveries. And in fact, 2021 was a low point for Safran Helicopter Engines in terms of engine production. Low point, which is now behind us. And what we see going forward is clearly a significant ramp up in 2022 with plus 15%, plus 15% in engine production in 2022 for Safran Helicopter Engines compared to 2021. Still on the market, important to share with you that all along the COVID crisis, we kept a steady market share above 1/3, and this market share will mechanically increase in the coming months thanks to the entry into service of the H160 powered by the Arano engine. A word about support and services. Support and services wise, 2022 will keep being a growth year. More specifically, we will be in the upper mid-single digit growth rate in 2022. And this growth stems from the growth in our installed base, meaning the sum of all helicopters being powered by Safran helicopter engines. All in all, we are currently hiring, and in 2022, we will hire more than 250 people worldwide at Safran helicopter engines. So this was about the market and how we fare in this market. I will now move on to what we call ready to support the entry into service, which is share with you the latest developments with our product range. It starts with the Arano. Arano, you know that I come back to the motto of our company, to deliver the best of the best to our customers. Part of this best of the best is to invest in the next generation of products that fit squarely with market needs. And Arano is a perfect example in that respect. The first deliveries started at end of 2021 in Japan with ANH as a customer. And we are now, Safran, part of an entry into service team with Shell, PHI, and Airbus to introduce the H160 in the offshore market with 4 helicopters to start with. The FAA certification of the helicopter will come shortly. As you know, the Arano engine is already FAA certified. What is important to share with you is Arano is both a civil and military engine. And that's important because between the civil orders of H160, which are roughly, I believe, at around 80 helicopters, the order book, between this civil order book and the military order book, it's a program which is sure to be supported by significant volumes. Why so? Because on the military side, the backbone of the program on the military side is the French Army, which has ordered 169 H160 helicopter. It's not called the H160 for the French Army, it's called the Guépard. Guépard, which is a felin, an animal. So that's 169 helicopters, so around 400 engines. So for this entry into service, we are triple ready. First readiness is we are ready as a company, Safran, for the entry into service. What does it mean? Arano engine, more than 10,000 hours of engine tests already made. On top of it, more than 200 people trained to deliver maintenance and MRO activities. That's readiness number 1. Readiness number 2 is about engine maintenance, efficiency, and competitiveness. Arano is a game changer. We have reduced engine maintenance tasks divided by 4 compared to existing engines. Readiness number 3 is environmental sustainability readiness, ready for environmental sustainability. On 2 fronts, one is fuel consumption. The Arano, the Safran Arano engine, is minus 15%, 1.5, in terms of fuel consumption compared to existing engines. Front number 2 is sustainable aviation fuels. The Safran Arano engine not only is ready to accept up to 50% of SAF, but we are working hard to accept 100% as soon as possible. So that's for the Arano. I suggest now to move on to Aneto. Aneto was certified in 2019, as you know. Entry into service should occur this year or beginning of next year for the Aneto engine. And Aneto is also on board the AW149 demonstrator for the NMH UK MOD campaign in the UK. Ardiden family, just a word on this family of engines. We have certified the Ardiden 1U engine for the light utility helicopter of HAL in India. The first LUH order has been received, so the program is starting deliveries. Same thing for the light combat helicopter of HAL. Here again, first deliveries of LCH helicopters. At the same time, we are supporting the AC-352 helicopter in China, developed by AVIC. We are supporting the certification efforts, which is to happen in the coming months. And last but not least, the Kamov 62, powered by the Ardiden 3G engine in Russia, has been certified. That was a month ago or so. Program which may be impacted by the situation in Ukraine. After these words on our product range, let me move on to decarbonization. Decarbonization is a strong belief of ours. If I look at the programs we developed over the past 50 years, in 50 years we reduced fuel consumption by 50%, 50. I compare the certification of the Astazu engine back in 1956 with the certification of the Arius 2B2 engine in 1996. Between these two generations of engines, minus 50% in terms of fuel consumption. Is it enough? No. Hence, we are the leader in terms of decarbonization solutions, and we will do an extra 50% by 2030. So 50% over the past 50 years, additional minus 50% in terms of emissions by 2030. How are we going to do it? 3 pillars in our decarbonization strategy. Pillar number 1 is ever more frugal engines. And that's not the future. It starts today with Arano. Arano, as I said, minus 15%. 1.5 in fuel consumption. It will continue, and by 2030, in terms of frugality of our engines, we will do an extra minus 20%. That's pillar 1. Pillar 2 is electric hybrid. What are we talking about? Very simple example, what we call the eco mode on twin engine helicopters. The idea is pretty simple. On a twin engine helicopter, put one engine in a standby mode. And by putting one engine out of 2 in a standby mode, we go and get an extra minus 20% in fuel consumption, which adds up to the frugality of the gas turbine, initially of minus 20%. How does it relate to electric hybrid? Simply because if on a twin-engine helicopter you put one engine on a standby mode, for certification purposes, you need a capacity of fast restart for the engine, which is a standby mode. And this fast restart capability comes out of an electrical motor and batteries, and that's where electric hybrid comes into play. That's pillar 2. Pillar 3 is sustainable aviation fuels. I'm a strong believer. Safran, as an aerospace group, is a strong believer. Why so? Simply because there aren't that many levers to decarbonize the existing helicopters or aircrafts. And SAF is the most efficient and pragmatic lever. We believe in SAF. Today, all Safran engines are already certified to function with a blend of 50% SAF And we work to make it possible with 100% SAF as early as possible. I will end, last but not least, with a range of digital services. At Safran, we see digital services as a way to contribute to this deliver the best of the best in terms of quality of service to our customers. You may remember that at HAI 2018, we launched our suite of health monitoring services. These have worked well in the sense that it was an immediate adoption by the market. Today, we have more than 600 customers using our health monitoring services, this on more than 4,000 engines. But that's only a beginning, and during this HAI, we announced the rollout of our next generation of services with My Engine Dashboard, which is a way to monitor each engine individually and accessing for a given engine all the services. I will let Sébastien elaborate on this in a second. And second element is the electronic digital logbook, which is a way to have digital information circulating in advance of the paper logbook to be more efficient with our customers and enable them to reduce cost and reduce turnaround times. I will now leave the floor to Sébastien for a word on our suite of digital services, and then we'll move on to questions, and I'll be glad to answer them. Sébastien.
Thank you, Frank. I'm Sébastien Joléry, in charge of support and services for Safran Helicopter Engine. So we definitely have a strategy with digital services. Basically, we want to achieve 3 targets to ease the administrative burden of our customer. The second one is to help for the maintenance operation, and the third one is to improve the way we operate engine and their efficiency. So for that, we have a suite of digital services. Frank has talked about, for example, the engine dashboard. It's a blend of administrative task burden and also efficiency in the operation, because on one full screen, you're going to see engine by engine where you stand on the commercial side, where you stand on the performance of the engine when it's operating, and where you stand on the maintenance task. When we talk about logbook viewer, it's really the beginning of a new generation of tools, because the ultimate goal is to connect the MIS of the customer and ourselves so that we can exchange the data of the engine logbook electronically. We have also, of course, the Health Monitoring Premium, which is basically something which is monitoring the engine while it's flying, and then we will analyze with artificial intelligence the data to see the behavior of the engine, how we can operate it differently, even to reduce the consumption, or what failure mode might happen, so that we can anticipate the maintenance.
Fabulous. Thank you, Sébastien. That's it for the latest update on Safran Helicopter Engines. And now the floor is yours, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Who's first?
Hi, I'm Jen with Rotor Magazine. As you talked about making it through the crisis, can you share a little bit about any specific lessons learned at Safran on how maybe your processes got smoother, you kind of cleaned over, you became more organization, more streamlined. Can you give us some examples of that great story that you can now move forward coming out of the pandemic that shows maybe a little stronger?
Yeah, don't launch me on that one, because we learned a lot. You know, I often say that supply chain is more an art than a science, and as artists, we have learned a lot, and we have grown a lot, basically. So it may become a bit technical, so I will try not to make it too technical, but still to share with you a few lessons learned. The first of all was I will come back to adaptation, and I was convinced as a leader that it was out of the essence to adapt fast to keep our capacity to invest. We had two ways to do this. One was prompt reduction of costs. Good news is it works well. Now, bad news is when you cut costs, you can have some undesired effects. So we chose a different route, and I chose as a leader a different route, which was to say, well, if the market is different, maybe we should organize ourselves differently to address the market differently. So we worked on our organizations and simply thought with the exec team and with the teams, let's close our eyes, look at the market as we see it, and can we just not ask our people to do more with less, but just to change our organizations structurally and address the market differently. That was part of what we've done. We led more than 30 adaptations of our organizations internally. That's one thing we learned. Second thing is about what we call SNOP, Sales and Operational Planning, which is the planning of our demand. And here we were paranoid about reviewing our vision of the demand to make sure that we would give to our supply chain a compass in terms of volumes as early as possible. At the time, I had difficult discussions with my industrial director because supply chain guys prefer to wait longer to have a clearer view. I was against this, and my thought was the earlier we could give a compass to our suppliers, the better we would be serviced afterwards. So that was a second lessons learned. The third one was about the ERP management, where we took quite audacious options to really cut and make sure we would adapt our demand, and basically we reloaded our ERP fully. So we erased it and reloaded it. So I was telling you it was going to become a bit technical, but that was a third lessons learned. So yes, we learned a hell of a lot. I keep extremely humble because here again, supply chain is more an art than a science, but working as a team with the people next to the market, knowing the customers, you can do a tremendous job at improving the situation at the benefit of your customers, of our customers. Does it answer your question? Okay.
Just a question, if possible, on an update, if possible, on the electric side of the business. Previously at HAI, we saw the Engineers, or however you pronounce it, electric motor sort of initiatives. And with your plan to obviously increase hybridization, that's an important part of the future. So could you just update us on where you are with various electric side?
Yeah, so I try to do my best. Why? Because you know that within Safran Group, we have sister companies. So on our side, we are in charge of gas turbines and electric hybrid. And we have a sister company, Safran Electrical and Power, in charge of electrical motors. Now, this being said, your question is extremely relevant because all this dates back to 2010, and Safran Group had a vision about the place of electric technologies for aerospace. And at the time, it led to the acquisition of Goodrich Electrical and Power System back in 2013 when UTC bought Goodrich, and they had to divest an asset for antitrust reasons, which led to the acquisition of Goodrich Electrical and Power Systems. In 2015, it was the acquisition of a business from Eaton on electrical distribution, and again in 2015, acquisition of Zodiac, and within Zodiac, some contactor technologies, which were strategic for Safran, as well as high-power electrical power distribution systems, which were also important for Safran. It led to a full range of electrical technologies, which today are leading to several offsprings. One is electrical motors, which is the ingenious electrical motor range of products. So I'm not going to be able to detail exactly where we stand. Things are going well, this I know for sure, and it's important for us, but we'll make sure through Bettina that you get the latest update. Also electrical power generators, which is the second offspring. The third one being turbo generators, which is the third branch of this range of product, which is with Safran helicopter engines. So that's where things stand, and to be more precise, we'll make sure Bettina gives you the latest update. Does it answer your question? Okay.
Hi Frank, Oliver with Vertical Magazine. I just wanted to ask about SAF. Obviously it seems like it's relatively low-hanging fruit in terms of reducing emissions. But how feasible is it that it's going to be scaled up to the extent that everyone can use SAF? Because essentially right now it's used cooking oil that's generally used, right? Are there other sources that can be used? And what's sort of Safran's vision as to how big an uptake there's going to be with SAF going forward?
Okay. So two elements. SAF was not very well known. And part of our responsibility is to, with humility, give a hand to market players, helicopter operators, for example, to get to know SAF and learn how they work and what can be done out of them. And SAF enabled to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by up to 80%, 80%, depending upon the feedstock, that's true. But for, I would say, a normal adequate feedstock, we can go up to 80%. Question becomes, is there enough SAF available? Which is a chicken and egg problem. If there is no demand, there is no offer. If there is no offer, there is no demand. Okay? So that's where things stand today. So we need to do two things. The first one is convince all the market players that SAF are the most pragmatic, fast way to get to decarbonization. And the beauty of SAF is any helicopter in the world, if I take Safran engines, all of them can accept up to 50% of SAF. So it's not decarbonization tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, it's decarbonization right now. So then we need to convince helicopter operators, and we need to convince also producers. Hence, big work being done by Safran with oil producers, among others, to see how facilities can emerge to produce SAF in sufficient quantities, in particular to reduce the price of SAF, which today is between 3 times and 5 times the price of normal fuel. I also believe that there is a role for government policies to foster demand. Refuel EU, European Union directive, which is a law in Europe, is an example of a law which will mandate a certain percentage of usage of SAF for commercial aircrafts. So that's one example of government policy. I believe there is also a role for government policies to foster the supply side. Refuel EU is an example of a governmental action on the demand side. You foster demand through an incorporation mandate. Supply side governmental measures are typically budgetary supports to setting up of new facilities, okay, to produce SAF. So that's, I would say, the challenge in the short run. More longer term, there is a place for e-fuels, which is power to liquid, which is synthetic fuel, which could come after biofuels, for example, which are synthetic fuel, where you produce the molecule of fuel synthetically out of energy and different inputs. That's also an arena in which we are active. We invested recently, Safran Group, in a minority stake in a startup in Germany, for example, in these technologies of e-fuels. So, in a nutshell, make sure the market is aware and believes in SAF. Step one, that's underway. June 2021, we did a world first, which was the flight of a safety helicopter in Munich, in Germany, with a German operator, ADAC. We did it with Airbus. We did it with Total Energy. First flight of a rescue helicopter with a blend of SAF. Later on, in September, if my memory is good, we flew this time with the Airbus helicopters an H225, this time with one engine running on 100% SAF. Okay? Also, on our side, we are running an engine test campaign on 100% SAF on a Makila engine. All this is going to enable us to push the boundaries and move to 100% certification of SAF for our engines. So awareness of the market, doing our homework, also a role for government policies, supply side, demand side, and just to make it happen on one of the levers which is the most accessible and enables to treat the installed base aircraft as much as helicopters. Did I answer your question? Thank you so much for your time. We value very much having this opportunity to exchange with you. If you have any additional questions, François, very well known, Bettina, or myself, thank you so much for joining. See you soon.